Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Brews with Brian, a craft beer review podcast. Craft beer is beer that is brewed in smaller breweries, not these big corporate machine breweries that we're all aware of. Craft beer takes time and patience, and the people that brew this stuff care about the product they're delivering to us, and I'm very thankful for that. On this week's episode, I'm reviewing Repeat from Sufferfest Beer Company, Imperial Eclipse Stout-Vanilla Bean from 50/50 Brewing Company, and Tidewater from Serta Brewing Company. Don't forget to check the show out on social media. Twitter page is Brews W. Brian, Instagram and Facebook, Brews with Brian. So tell your friends and subscribe to the pages and like the pages and check out what we post. But let's kick this show off. And first up on this week's show, we have Repeat from Sufferfest Beer Company out of San Francisco, California. Repeat has an ABV of 3.5% and a rotating availability. The description from the website says, Kolsch-style beer with bee pollen, crafted to reduce gluten. This beer pours a pale golden color and casts an appearance of Pilsner on the glass. The rise of bubbles fuel a creamy and arid froth before luring the senses with the floral nature of honeysuckle, along with fresh dough and hints of grassy herbs. Gentle on sweetness, the honeysuckle aromas translate to a soft agave sweetness, along with those sweet bready impressions left over from the scent. Smooth and bready on the middle palate, the taste slowly shifts towards the hops, with nothing more than a balance of lemon pepper, parsley, and a pleasant grassy bite. Light citrus of lemon and orange peel, into an apple-like finish with an extension of lemongrass bite, as the hops develop a sharp and peppery bitterness to close. It's very light in body, even for a Kolsch style. The drying spicy ale continues to lay tracks of floral honey in a retro olfactory afterpalate. A medium short aftertaste of grain and hop spice outlasts the bee pollen for a familiar taste of German lager, but with a softer, more floral edge. And as Kolsch's go, this beer is pretty good. Definitely not my favorite ever. I just found this brewery the other week at the craft beer store, and I decided to try them out. I was pretty pleased, so I might look into trying some different stuff they have. But overall, I'm going to give Repeat from Sufferfest Beer Company 3 stars. And next up on the show, we have Imperial Eclipse Stout-Vanilla Bean from 50/50 Brewing Company out of Truckee, California. Imperial Eclipse Stout-Vanilla Bean has an ABV of 11.9% and a fall time availability. Now, there was no description on the website that I could find for this beer. This beer pours a fairly solid black abyss, yet with prominent red cola basil edges and 3 fingers of puffy, rocky, and bubbly brown head, which leaves some well-rounded limestone cliff lace around the glass as it lazily subsides. It smells of marshmallow-forward vanilla, lightly roasted bready and doughy caramel malt, a touch of bittersweet cocoa powder, woody barrel notes, and a mildly floral and musty hoppiness. The taste is bready and grainy caramel malt with some free-range ashiness, vanilla cookies, heavy cream, black coffee, but it's still hard to pin down the bourbon cask essences. It's got medium dark chocolate wafers and more understated leafy, earthy, and floral hop bitters. The carbonation is quite tame in its lo-fi frothiness, the body a solid medium heavyweight, and mostly smooth, but for a sense of boozy woodiness, making a few unwelcome inroads here. It finishes well off, very dry, the vanilla cocoa malt and cream coffee essences ruling the lingering day. Overall, this is a pretty stellar version of this style, even if the vanilla character doesn't exactly rise above what one might expect from the exposure to the wood. A heady offering, one that I'm glad to finally have had the chance to make an acquaintance with. And this beer is fantastic as far as Imperial Stouts go. This is just wonderful. I enjoyed this beer. So overall, I'm going to give Imperial Eclipse Stout-Vanilla Bean from 50/50 Brewing Company 5 stars. And the last beer on today's show is Tidewater from Serta Brewing Company out of Mobile, Alabama. Tidewater has an ABV of 6% and a year-round availability. The description from the website says, a smooth, malty amber mainstay with clean, moderate hop bitterness in balance with toasty sweetness, floral and spicy in both malt and hop aroma, but easy drinking and satisfyingly complex. This beer pours a deep amber gold color with a good cap and heavy lacing. Aromas of rich caramel malt that has a lifting sort of freshness about it. Mild but persistent and floral with spicy hops. The taste is malty caramel in the Vienna style that this beer is made in. This is a flavorful brew that displays the malt well without going off into sweetness, rather richness. There is a underlying element of toasted or lightly roasted malt that doesn't introduce roast bitterness but serves to deepen the malt profile. With this level of malt goodness, there's little the hops can do but struggle to keep up, yet they manage to make themselves known. This beer is full of texture with balancing, good carbonation. This one could stand up to the spiciest of Cajun cuisine, yet is drinkable on its own. But it definitely delivers a truckload of flavor. I had this beer while I was in Mobile, getting ready to go on my cruise for my honeymoon. And this beer was fantastic. I loved it. I love Serta. Everything they make that I've had is fantastic. So shout out to Serta Brewing. But overall, I'm going to give Tidewater from Serta Brewing Company 4 stars. And that's going to do it for this week's episode of Brews with Brian. I want to thank everybody for listening. The show continues to grow each and every week, and that would not happen without the people listening like you, so thank you. On this week's episode, I reviewed Repeat from Sufferfest Beer Company, Imperial Eclipse Stout-Vanilla Bean from 50/50 Brewing Company, and Tidewater from Serta Brewing Company. You can check the show out on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, and Spotify, so like and subscribe where needed and necessary. I want to give a special shout out to Southern Package, my hometown craft beer shop. So if you live in North Alabama, go check them out. They'll treat you right. They're wonderful people. But that's going to do it for this week's episode of Brews with Brian, and we'll see you next time.